Welcome to The Tea with Amanda Roley, where we hold candid conversations over some tea with here's our tea, with our local candidates to talk about transparency, accountability, and what this means for you. Today, I am sitting down with Spokane Valley's new mayor, Laura Padden, chosen by her fellow council members to lead the city into 2026. Thank you for joining me today, Mayor Padden.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm quite excited.
Yeah, and we've got tea for you to drink, but I'm hoping you can spill a little bit of tea on what we can expect from your new term as mayor.
All right.
First of all, just talk me through, were you expecting to be chosen among your peers to serve as Spokane Valley's mayor?
Well, I was hoping to be chosen.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yes, yeah. Fingers crossed. It's always a transition time, and there were a number of people who had interest in it. Initially, I had more support than any of the others, and so I figured it wasn't quite over the top, but I figured I would hopefully get there. So, not surprised, but happy.
And I guess Spokane Valley, the city, the residents of Spokane Valley, they don't necessarily elect the mayor.
No.
Council members do.
Yeah.
So knowing that you were chosen among your peers, what did that mean for you?
Well, it's a great honor either way if you're elected by the residents or by your peers. But they've seen me for the last some of them for the last 4 years, others for the last 2 years on the dais, and how I operated and my thought processes and what I stand up for. And so they were willing to continue on that path and help me lead the city forward. I don't have any more power than anybody else, any other council member. I'm still just one vote out of 7.
And that's what I was going to ask you, right? So you've already served as a council member for Spokane Valley, now transitioning to this role as mayor. How does that change?
Well, it does change quite a bit, actually, because you're sort of the public face of the city. Yeah. So a lot more activities, a lot more meetings, a lot more ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings, which are great fun. I was at one the other day for our new hotel, and very exciting. So
was that the first one?
Yes.
How did it go? First engagement?
Extremely well. It was the day after the big snowfall, and so they weren't expecting it, but it was a lot of fun. And of course, groundbreakings are a very positive thing for the city. It's show businesses moving in and growing, and jobs. Yeah. So very happy. But I forget what the original question was.
It was your first engagement, and how going back to how it's different from being council member to mayor. It's similar, but there are some changes.
Yeah,
right?
and the other thing that's a big one, and that I'm trying to get used to, is that when you're a council member during the meetings, you can kind of sit there and you listen and focus very much on the issues and what's being said. When you're the mayor, then you're presiding over the meeting, and you have to be thinking about what's coming ahead, or is this comment appropriate for what's going on, and that kind of thing. And so you can't just focus on the issues. And so what it means for me is I need to be much more prepared beforehand on what's coming up and how I feel about it and what I might want to say.
Spill the tea. Are you up for it?
Hopefully, yes.
Well, that's great. Well, a new chapter, new venture for you. Now, you've said that you are a self-described small government minimalist. And in simple terms, what does that mean for people living in Spokane Valley?
Well, hopefully it means that the government in Spokane Valley City Council is not messing with their lives too much. We have certain priorities. Every government has priorities, and hopefully we will stick to that, and we will try to make the residents' lives as prosperous as possible, as safe as possible, and sort of in the background without really being, noticed. So,
what do you mean by? Can you give examples of prosperous and safe as possible? What does that look like during your term?
Well, hopefully we've made great progress on public safety. So we've hired 10 new officers in 25. We're hiring 10 more in 26. A new K-9 officer is coming on board. We've made some ordinance changes, done some retail theft emphasis patrols. So hopefully what it means for the business owners is that their products and their retail items will be safer from from theft. And that means the costs to the rest of us will not go up because, of course, they have to pass along all their losses to the rest of the people. And that the streets are safe and they won't be harassed by people and they won't be, their homes won't be broken in. And so there's going to be much more of a police presence around, which is always a deterrence for crime. And
which is something that we've seen in Spokane Valley as of late. The city is working to hire more officers. You mentioned that, and talking about there's talks of a possible independent police department. I wonder, where do you stand on that?
Well, we're looking into it. Well, the other thing that we have to do with public safety, because it's a very expensive proposition. I mean, we spend like 64% of our budget on public safety. And the costs have gone up dramatically in the last 5 years. So as fiduciaries for the public trust, we need to make sure that we're getting the most out of our money. So we have kind of a two-pronged approach, or I'm proposing a two-pronged approach for this coming year. And one is to look more closely at the contract that we have with Spokane County, which has served us extremely well.
I was going to say, because even as a reporter, sometimes when we bring in our new folks, we have to explain, okay, we have Spokane County, and then we have Spokane Valley, but they're helped by the county, right? So
Yes.
It's a little bit confusing, but you're considering maybe, finding other avenues, or, you would support an independent police department.
Well, it depends on how much it would work out. So, I mean, the relationship with the county has been very well, but the county hires and fires the police. We don't. We contract with them. They're not our employees, but we then pay through the contract. And so we want to make sure that it's being executed in a very financially responsible way, and we're getting the best bang for our buck. But to be responsible in our fiduciary responsibility, we need to look at what it would look like if we went, independent. And what would that cost, and what would the impact be? So, I mean, people, as a council, we have to weigh the pluses and minuses of both sides, and that's what we'll be doing. And
so it sounds like you'd like to see the facts and figures first before planting, support one way or the other.
Yes,
Okay.
But I will say, I mean, our relationship with the county is great, and it's been a wonderful situation. When we first became a city, there was no way we could, spin up our own police department. Yeah. And so it's been really a positive experience.
And then let's see. So I wanted to you mentioned some of your plans. I want to kind of talk about what your priorities are as mayor and going into 2026. So now that we're in the new year, what would you say are your top 2 or 3 priorities as mayor, and how should residents measure success in those areas?
Well, public safety, of course, is the top one, and we talked a little bit about that.
Like improving it, or what would you want to see with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always ways for improving, and crime is a constant, right? I mean, there are people who, bad people out there doing bad things. So we've changed some of the ordinances. We've, not changed, but we've added to them and added new ones. So we have a reckless endangerment ordinance that we've passed. So if somebody's using fentanyl and, say, in the home and the child is injured, then the police have another charge that they can levy against them. Or in the public, if you're riding a bus and somebody's using fentanyl and you're impacted by that, we can deal with that. We've dealt with some of the illicit massage parlors in town that have popped up all kinds of places. And through work with the county and others, we have managed to close about close to 80% of them. We're looking at ordinances on Creighton, or is that at Creighton? Yes, which is another, especially the synthetics, there's another opioid. And so we're looking at some of that stuff. We're doing operations. So our police department is joining with like the marshal's office and others, and they've rounded up a number of pretty dangerous felons in our area. So a cooperation with the other organizations around.
It sounds like building up on what's maybe already started. And in that regard to public safety. What other priorities are you looking at as mayor?
So probably the second one for me, at least, is economic development, because business is small business especially is the engine of our economy. And the more business you have, the more jobs you have, the more people coming and paying taxes and buying retail and doing all those things, the lower your taxes are individually, right? Because if you don't have that and you have certain services you have to provide, you have to have the income. And so we're spreading it out over a larger group of people. And so we've been very fortunate. We had Dave & Buster's just opened up recently.
Right. Yeah. Have you been? Or have you hit the air hockey yet, Mayor? Or
I have, and I have to admit, maybe it's a generational thing, but it was pretty loud in there.
Well, a lot of fun to be had, right?
Yes, it was a lot of fun. So Land Rover just came in from, moved in from Spokane. We've had a number of expansions. What used to be Honeywell is now Solstice, is a big expansion. Coca-Cola just expanded.
So you want to try to keep Spokane Valley enticing for these businesses to come into the area.
Yeah. We have Trader Joe's coming in.
That's
which will
right.
Be the first, yeah.
Right. A couple. Isn't that a couple blocks down from City Hall?
Yeah,
too? Nice little
far,
lunch stop. Yeah.
Not far, and I think Crumble is going to be pretty close too. So a lot of positives on economic development, and and so that's really. It benefits all of us, and it keeps revenues coming in, and it lightens the burden for everyone who's living here.
Yeah. So you mentioned top priorities, public safety and economic development. How should Spokane Valley residents measure your success in those areas of priorities for you?
Well, hopefully, if they feel safe, that's a plus for us. If they see police, that's a plus for us. If they make a call and the response time is low, and the police get right out there and they're on the job and they're investigating, that's a plus. I think those are all things they can measure. And as far as economic development, if they have places to go and things to do and jobs available, that all shows that we're doing our job.
And then what would you say, is there an issue in Spokane Valley that urgently needs to be addressed that you think can't wait any longer?
Oh, gosh, I guess, wow. Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Obviously, what I've talked about is, in my mind, is urgent, but it's ongoing, and it's every day, and it's not like this just cropped up. You're talking about something that just sort of cropped up. And
well, whatever you think needs to, maybe something you're passionate about, what's something that needs to change in Spokane Valley?
Well, I would say, and this isn't like an emergency or anything, but one of my other priorities is more attention to the local roads. Oh, well, I guess the other thing I guess I would say is housing. That's urgent.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a great need there.
And I think your constituents would agree with both. The roads just in our region, potholes are a big, big deal for folks. You start talking about potholes, you could go on for days, right? And housing, definitely. We cover that in just the expansion that we're seeing in our region. That is a huge concern, right? There's not enough housing with all the people coming to this beautiful area.
Yeah.
So
well, they're all going. Not all, but a ton of people are going to Idaho, and part of it is part of the challenge is from what the state has imposed on us, and they have made the cost of housing very high, and so you can buy the same house in Idaho for tens of thousands of dollars less than you buy it here. So why would you buy it here? If you can, Idaho's not that far away. As a border community, we see those kinds of things. The price of gas is, in some places, $1.25 cheaper in Idaho, $70 to $1.25. Yeah. So not only does that mean people go over there to buy the gas and we lose the revenue, but the price of gasoline also impacts all kinds of stuff like shipping, and so that impacts the price of groceries, this kind of stuff. So those kinds of things are challenging, and it's not. There's not a whole lot we can do except we keep lobbying Olympia to, hey, you're making this a difficult place for businesses to stay and for people to stay. And as a border community, we see them moving, out of state. So
I do want to talk a little bit about your background. Feel free to have some tea. I'm
need
talking
a
you up here. Enjoy the tea, Mayor Padden. Now, I do know I am talking to a fellow Coug here. Go Cougs.
Right. Yeah.
I understand you have a background in forgive me, police science. Kind of jump back to public safety. How does that shape your view on policy or policing decisions today?
Well, I don't know that my education actually did. I was in the crime lab option at WSU, and I never actually worked in it, so I was more of the scientific side.
Sure.
But certainly my family ties, and my husband's a lot of lawyers in my family, a lot of also politicians in my family, and so we've always been very pro-police and pro-safety, and so, yeah.
Yeah. So, does it give you any particular insight just with that background at all, or?
Not now. I mean, that was a long time ago, and I didn't really work in the field. It was when I came out of college. It was during the malaise, the Carter malaise, and there were no jobs, so I got a job elsewhere.
And I understand your husband, Senator Padden,
Yes.
did he help you? So he served quite a long time
Yes.
in our state legislature. Did he give you any tips and pointers when you were running for election? Or how was he a help to you?
Yes, and yes, many tips and pointers, which was incredibly valuable. I mean, just living with him and helping in his campaigns and seeing how he campaigns, how he dealt with controversy and decision making, and it's quite different being behind the scenes and then turning around and being out in public, and you have to be the face of it, and you have to make the decision, and you have to justify that position. And so yes, he's a great help.
And then I want to talk about money and accountability. So you've talked about protecting taxpayers before. So what's one area of city spending that you think deserves a closer look, and one area that you think maybe the city should invest more in?
Well, I think maybe the closer look, and we were talking about public safety, but there's so the contract and
With the county sheriff's office?
Yeah. So there's something called the and I always want to say incidental cost, but that's
operational?
not it.
No.
And I forget the right word. But
Sorry.
I
may have threw you off. Sorry.
Yeah, so we know the costs of like the salaries for the police and the cost of certain equipment and that kind of stuff. But there's other costs, the cost of doing business, kind of thing, and it's hard to get a good accounting of that. And that's oftentimes where a lot of money can be spent and you're not realizing where it's going.
So public safety in that regard, is that something you want to take a closer look
Yeah.
at? Okay. What would you say is something you'd want the city to invest more into?
Well, I would say the local roads, for one.
I can hear everyone watching going, oh, yeah, we love that.
Yeah. And a continued and maybe a bigger investment in economic development, because I think the returns on investment in there are great and make it a very valuable place to spend money.
Yeah. And we did talk about housing, and on that point a bit, affordability is definitely a concern for our area. So how do you think city decisions impact what it actually costs to live in Spokane Valley?
Well, I would say that it's not so much the city decisions, but it's the state decisions that are impacting us. And their attitude that one size fits all, and that their ideas have more validity than local government's ideas, and which I would say is not true, because we are closest to the people, and we're living here, and why should somebody in Olympia who lives on the west side and never even been over here make decisions and impose those on us? So like land use decisions have come down from Olympia that are very impactful, mostly in terms of infill and squishing everybody in.
Yeah.
So, which is changing our kind of our characteristics of the valley.
We're really getting to know our neighbors, aren't we?
Yes,
Just right next to
and it's sort of forcing more rentals. The cost of housing makes it harder for people to get into what we used to call entry level, but it's really workforce. So I would really like us to focus on providing more housing in terms of cottages or townhouses or condos that are more affordable. And so, because home ownership really creates stability in the city. Apartments, people come and go and they move, and they aren't as invested or have that much interest in. Well, some obviously do, but there's a lot that don't.
I do want to ask you a little bit of spill the tea here. Enjoy and have a
Okay.
little sip. So you've previously served as Spokane Valley's city council member, now first time mayor. Spill the tea for me. What has been so far the most surprising or challenging part about stepping into the mayor's role?
Well, I think it was, it's sort of like getting hit by a hose, water hose.
A fire hose?
Yeah, fire hose. It's just like, you know, being just on the city council, you can sort of invest as much time as you want or can or need to. But as mayor, it's like, well, no, you got to be there, or you got to do this, or you got to meet with these people, which is great. I mean, I love to do it, but it's like a light switch, right? So, so I have to ramp up. So.
Do you think you'll have maybe a bigger impact in the role of mayor versus council member, or
Yes.
how do you see that changing?
Yeah, I think so.
Like what?
Well, I mean, when you're on the council, you go to certain events and you talk to a number of people and you vote, and that's your impact, But as mayor, you go to a lot more events and you talk to a lot more people, and you meet with a lot more people and discuss, maybe they have something they want to propose. And so you have a lot more of those kinds of organizational meetings and learning meetings, and will this work or that work, and what do you think about it? And so, I mean, you have more input in more organizations and on a higher level.
Sure. Yeah. Last couple questions,
Okay.
Mayor Padden. What would you say, so folks who are maybe getting to know you in this new role, what would you say is a key thing that you bring to the table as Spokane Valley's newest mayor?
Well, I think I have quite a background as far as, sort of the political lay of the land. And I'm not talking in terms of, Republican or Democrat. It's just in terms of kind of the general policies and procedures and how things work.
Procedural sort of thing? Okay.
Yeah. And so I think I can offer that. That's not a learning curve for me. And I feel comfortable in that environment. And so I think that's a plus.
That's great. And then to close out, when your time as mayor is over, what do you hope people will say you got right?
I hope they say Spokane Valley is a better place to live and a more fun place to live, and we have more opportunities in Spokane Valley. In fact, many have said, maybe the name, Spokane Valley and Spokane, people get confused. You say they think Spokane Valley is part of Spokane, or just,
I hope not. I'm a Valley resident, so I hope not.
Yeah. But if I was to change the name, if that was something, it would be opportunity, because that's a very positive and confident and,
the city
upbeat.
of opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But we used to have townships, opportunity townships, when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's right.
But anyway, that was.
And to spin off of that, is there anything that you would hate to leave unfinished at the end of your term?
Well, there's so many things that will be unfinished. So many things that are just ongoing.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. There might be something that crops up.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see at the end of the year, right? Rather than the term. Well, thank you so much, Mayor Padden, for sitting down and talking through those priorities with us. And thank you for joining us here on The Tea with Amanda Roley. Again, having that fun, candid conversation with our local leaders. Hopefully you got to know your new Spokane Valley mayor just a little bit more.